Welcome back. A lot of time has passed since we've been together, and I've taken grief from my producers here at KIRK Television, and they want me to do this broadcast remotely on the latest happenings of the people in the Sinai Desert. So I'm in my tent here in the desert of Sinai. Apologize for the poor lighting and so forth. We will do the best we can. And by the way, yes, I know how stupid this is, but I don't care. Got to mix it up once in a while, otherwise it just gets lame. Okay, well, I mean, it's lame anyway, but at least I can have some fun. Okay, our story last time was the gold calf. And what I want you to know before we get any further into this is how much time has transpired. We left Egypt and crossed the Red Sea 3 days later out of water, 6 weeks later out of food. 90 days after the Exodus, after Passover, they arrive at Mount Sinai. 90 days, 3 months. Okay, how long are they at Mount Sinai? Over a year. They're at Mount Sinai over a year. Moses goes up, Moses comes down. Moses goes up, Moses comes down. Moses is getting lots of laws from God. People are camping in their tents every day, living with their family, all in one room? No, one tent room. I mean, this is a confined set of circumstances, to say the least. Every day they're eating whatchamacallit that they pick up off the ground. Every day. Whatchamacallit shows up 6 days a week, sixth day, twice as much, and they pick it up and they eat. Okay, so there you have our lives if we put ourselves in their perspective, in their shoes so far. By the way, in the Bible, it's even more confusing because if you're reading through the Bible, you've gone through Exodus, and then 32 is the gold calf, and then there's just chapter after chapter after chapter of laws and laws and laws. And then the entire book of Leviticus is nothing but laws. And it's Levitical laws. It's to the Levites. And remember, the Levites are the guys that strapped on the sword and killed each other. And the Levites, after that, become a special tribe, specially devoted to God. And that's where all the priests come from and so forth. Anyway, the whole book of Leviticus we've covered in the week between last week and this week. So how boring can I be today? You got to skip the entire book of Leviticus, which is some tedious reading, I can tell you. I mean, I like it, but no one else does. All right, so then, also we've skipped a whole lot of the book of Numbers, and we finally moved on from Mount Sinai, and we've gone out into the wilderness, and we've been gone over a year, probably something like a year and a half. So think in your own life. If you go back a year and a half before now, where were you? 1 year and 1/2 ago. You were in a lower grade, you were doing whatever you're doing. Now picture if that day was the Exodus for you. All the time since then, you've been wandering around in the desert, sitting in a tent with your parents every night. Oh my. Yeah. Now I want you to see it from the people's perspective because it changes radically. When you look at it from our perspective, from God's perspective, by just reading through the Bible, what you'll see when you do it that way is you go back to the idea we talked about last time. These people were stupid. They were just stupid. How could they do this after all they should have learned by now? But if you look at it from the people's perspective, you're going to look at this and say, man, I think maybe God's mean. God comes off looking pretty mean if you see it from their perspective at this point. And it's important for us to understand that God's perspective is the only one that matters. So we need to learn to change our perspective. But to understand the story, you have to look at it from both sides, okay? Now here's what I'm going to leave you for a discussion for the break. I want you to discuss this question. What do you want? Just that. Just as simple as that. What do you want? What do you desire? We are here in the desert. It is hot and it is dry, and yet I like it, but I'm a desert kind of person. And so I can handle this for a little while. But can you imagine if can you imagine if you were out here for not just a day or a week, but months? Literally, just think. What if you got up every day and it was desert again? Somebody look out the tent, see if the cloud lifted. If the cloud lifted, then you get to move. If it didn't lift, you have to stay. You send your little sister out to go pick up whatchamacallit up off the ground, and that's what you're going to have for lunch, and that's what you're going to have for dinner, and that's what you're going to have for breakfast, and that's what you're going to have for snacks. And you're not going to go to school. You're not going to work. You're just going to pack and unpack tents and move your stuff around and pick whatchamacallit up off the ground. And that's what you're going to do every single day your whole life, or it feels like it. Our stories today take place after they've been out of Egypt now for a year and a half. Here you are out in the middle of nowhere and just walking around every day getting up and doing that. Well, guess what people did? They complained. That's right. And it says Yahweh heard them. Just like we've looked at before. This is not stuff you want Yahweh to hear you doing. But Yahweh heard them. And when they did, he sends fire from heaven, strikes a bunch of people on the outskirts of the camp, burns the place up, and they name the place Burning. The Hebrew word for it, but they named it Burning. Then, a short time after that, there was a group of people with the Israelites. There's a lesson in this. I'm going to probably go past it, but not everybody that was traveling with the Israelites were Israelites. Some of them were people of other countries, and so, therefore they weren't they weren't descendants of Abraham, so they weren't part of the chosen people. They were just aliens that got to live with them. And those people began to complain about the circumstances, particularly about the food, and it was contagious. And it spread throughout the camp, and everybody started whining and complaining. Mom, I'm sick of this food. I'm tired of it too. Back in Egypt, we used to have meat and cucumbers. We ate all the fish we wanted, and it was free back in Egypt. Well, they start complaining. Moses hears them complaining. Everyone's standing at the entrance of their tent. You can imagine a couple of million people all griping and complaining all the time about food. And Moses has just reached his limit, and so he cries out to God and says, God, why have you done this to me? Why have you done this to me? Look at his words. Why have you brought this trouble on your servant? What have I done to displease you, that you would put the burden of all these people on me? Did I conceive all these people? Did I give them birth? Why do you tell me to carry them in my arms as a nurse carries a baby to the land you promised on oath to their forefathers? Where am I supposed to get meat for all these people? They keep wailing to me, whining, we want meat, we want meat. I can't carry all these people myself. The burden's too great. I can't take it anymore. If this is how you're going to treat me, just strike me dead right now, because I've just had it. I've had it. So then God responds to Moses, and he says, Moses, listen to this. Bring me 70 of Israel's elders, the guys that you respect as leaders. Have them come to the tent of meeting. I'm going to take my spirit off of you and distribute it among the 70 of them. And they'll help you carry the burden that you're having to carry yourself. And then tell the people, consecrate yourselves in preparation for tomorrow when you will eat meat. Yahweh heard you when you wailed and said, if we only had meat to eat, we were better off in Egypt. Now Yahweh will give you meat and you'll eat it. Not for a day, not for 2 or 5 or 10 or 20. You're going to eat meat for a month. You're going to have so much meat it's going to come out of your nose. You're going to eat meat until you're sick of it. Because you have rejected Yahweh who is among you and have wailed before him, saying, why'd we ever leave Egypt? Well, God says this to Moses, and Moses' response is, here I am among 600,000 men on foot, and you say, give them meat to eat for a month. Well, where are we going to get this?
Would they have enough if flocks and herds were killed for them? If you got all the fish in the sea, you wouldn't feed all these people. God says, is Yahweh's arm too short? No. God's going to take care of this. Well, Moses goes and gets the 70 guys, and God causes the Spirit to go on them. 2 of them didn't come to the meeting. They just stayed out in the camp. It's probably a pretty far piece. Whatever. I don't know why that's stuck in the story, but just thought I would. Little kid tells on them, and they're prophesying. But anyway, then, sure enough, they start prophesying, and then the next day they get meat. And oh, mama, do they get meat. Quail drops out of the sky. God causes it to blow in from the ocean. It goes, scatters around the camp, and it's 3 feet deep. They're up to their waist or chest, or for some of you, up to your head, in quail. Could you imagine? Well, of course, at first they're all happy and everything. They start eating, but while the meat was still in their mouths, while they were still eating it, they get sick. And God causes a plague to come upon them. While the meat was still in their teeth, and he struck them with a plague. And that day they named that place Graves of Craving, because there they buried the people who had craved other food. Graves of Craving. That's the part you want to remember. Now first, remember the story itself. And remember to look at it from both perspectives. When you're sitting in your home or in your church or in your Sunday school class and you're reading this text in the Bible, it's pretty easy to look at it and say, they were stupid. But if you stand out here for a little while, or you walk around out in this for a little while, and you start eating the same thing. If I throw bread on the ground for you, every nutrient-enriched bread that's just wonderful, and it makes filling, and it gives you all the vitamins you need, but you get that every day for a year and a half, tell me you won't be complaining too. In which case, God kind of looks cruel. So you got to take a look at it from both perspectives, and then you apply it to your life.